So we've got another prison horror story today. This one is titled The Cellmate, and it was submitted by our user Alex Murgatroyd. Let's jump right into it. It all started with the lockdown. That's always how it starts, isn't it? A story beginning with it all started when I got locked down. The world shrinks until you've only got 4 walls and 1 window, a tiny square in the sky. The rest of the world fades away. You're left with nothing but time and the silence of your own head. The problem is, some people aren't ready for that kind of quiet. Their minds conjure things up to fill the silence, shadows, and whispers at the edge of your vision. And that's where things took a turn for me. I never thought a prison could feel worse than the streets. But I was wrong. Lockdown Unit 7 at Blackstone Penitentiary was a living nightmare disguised as steel and concrete. The walls smelled of rust and sweat. The lights flickered in a rhythm that made your heart pound without warning. I was assigned to solitary after a fight that almost cost me my life. They called it punishment, but it felt like preparation. Preparation for what? I couldn't tell you. I was just counting the days till it ended. When the door finally opened, they wheeled my ass into a cage of a room, barely big enough for a cot, a toilet, and a narrow metal sink. Alone. I told myself absolutely alone. That's what I thought, until I woke up to the sound of breathing. It was faint at first, just a soft exhale from the corner of the cell. I strained my eyes in the darkness. Nothing. "Hello?" I whispered. My voice echoed back to me, too loud, too empty. "Don't be afraid," a whisper replied. I jumped. My pulse raced. There shouldn't be anyone there. I fumbled for the light switch, snapped it on and off. Shadows danced on the walls. I looked around the cell. No one. Just the shadows of the cot and the walls. The second night it happened again. A knock on the metal sink. A shadow that moved when I wasn't looking. Whispers calling my name, softly at first, then sharper, demanding. "I think there's someone in my cell," I told the guards the next day. They laughed. "There's no one there, son. You're just hearing things." But I knew better. I knew because I could hear the breathing whenever the lights went out. It was just under the cot, I told myself, pressing my ear against the thin metal frame. Must be a draft. Yeah, a draft that rustled the blankets and shook the chains on my ankle. But when I woke up and the sun sliced through the bars of the window, the sheets were still, the chains silent. Days bled into weeks. I started talking to the voice. I gave it a name in my mind. It was patient, calm, almost friendly. Most nights I could feel it move beside me on the cot while I slept. Though the bed never dipped, the breathing grew louder, more solid. Then one night the whisper turned sinister. "You shouldn't sleep," it said. "You belong to me." I woke up to find my cot scratched. Deep gouges in the metal frame spelled out words I didn't remember writing. Mine. I banged on the door. The guards arrived, but no one could see what I was pointing at. The scratches vanished when they shined their flashlights. "Clean it up," one of them said gruffly. "Maybe write something constructive for once." That's all I got for sympathy. No one believed me, not the guards, not the shrinks who paid me visits to see if I cracked. I begged for a transfer, for help, for anyone to believe me. But it fell on deaf ears. All I got was this: stay in the hole till you're rehabilitated. And then my cellmate spoke again, her voice dripping with amusement. Rehabilitated. How quaint. That's when the place started playing tricks. Time began to warp. Days felt like hours. The lights flickered in patterns that seemed deliberate, spelling messages in shadows. The voice talked to me constantly, whispering secrets about the prison, the guards, the other inmates, things I couldn't have known. I tried writing them down, but every time I looked back, the pages were blank. It was driving me crazy. What was this place? Why was it picking me? Was I going insane? I don't know. But I do know that somewhere in there my cellmate was watching me. I could feel her eyes boring into me, even when the lights were on, even when I caught sight of her standing in the doorway. My reflection in the small mirror on the wall was wrong. It smiled when I didn't. It breathed when I didn't. I tried to cover it with a blanket, but every time I turned away, the blanket was back on the cot. I tried to record evidence. Cameras never captured anything. Pen and paper. Everything I wrote disappeared. Then one night, the cellmate spoke clearly. "You can't leave." I realized the horrifying truth. The prison wasn't just a place for the living. It had a will of its own, and it wanted me. I spent my nights planning my escape, memorizing guard schedules, the timing of the doors, the blind spots in surveillance. My chance came at 2 a.m. when the hallway, one's empty. I ran. The alarms didn't sound. The guards didn't see me. I reached the main gate and stopped. A shadow fell across the entrance. The air grew colder. My heart stopped. There, in the dim moonlight, stood my cellmate, a perfect copy of me, grinning. "You tried to leave," she said in my own voice. I screamed, but no sound came out. The gate vanished, replaced by an endless corridor. Every cell I passed held a shadow of me, frozen in terror. I ran, but there was nowhere to go. Blackstone Penitentiary wasn't a building. It was a prison of souls, feeding on fear, on despair, on people who thought they could escape. The last thing I heard before I collapsed was a whisper, "Welcome back. You belong here now." I woke up to the sound of breathing. I sat up, heart pounding. In the dim light, I saw the sheets on the cot were rumpled, the chains dangling from my ankle. When the morning light flooded in, I scrambled for the light switch, flipped it on, and looked around. The cell was empty, but the cot wasn't. The sheets were spread, the blankets neatly folded. And there, scratched into the metal frame, the words, "Mine." So yeah, that was the story, The Cellmate, by Alex Mercato. I hope you enjoyed that one. We've got 2 more stories to go tonight. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss them. Also, if you want to submit a story for us to read, you can use the link in the description, or you can go to our website and click on Submit a Story. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.